millions of women in the world that are affected by this. So there's a 2008 studies by Yonkers et al. They say that there's an estimated 5 to 8% of menstruating women worldwide who are suffering from PMDD and severe complexity of that condition. But that obviously doesn't include the women that get misdiagnosed. It doesn't include the women that don't go and seek help because they mightn't even realize that they have PMDD, because they might put it under the banner of, I'm just tired. I'm trying to manage a household of kids. I'm trying to manage a really stressful job. And, maybe they just assume it's part of being a woman, because that's what I did. But then what I started to do is I started to track my patterns. I've used a couple of different apps. I'm using Day One app, which is a digital journaling app, which I can use on my Mac. I can use it on my phone. I also use an actual hard copy journal to write in. So I'll write down, what day of my cycle it is, and I'll write down the symptoms. There's also a really good app called Effecto, which is very good for tracking your ADHD symptoms. When I started tracking those symptoms, all of a sudden things became clear, and it was like an aha moment for me. And that's when I slowly learned that ADHD and PMDD are linked together. And it was just so good learning about that, because it turns out I'm not crazy. I might be a little bit crazy, but it turns out there's actually a scientific reason that all this perfect storm is happening every single time, guaranteed. Often during the luteal phase of my cycle, my ADHD symptoms would feel out of control. My executive function was just like completely switched off, not even like a little bit turned on like it is usually, but it was just completely not present. I'd have really bad brain fog. I'd just be super forgetful. I couldn't be motivated to do anything. I'd really have to push myself to go to the gym. And those things are not good. They're not good for me. They're not good for my family, and not good for trying to, do work and trying to be a reliable person in the workforce. Or even if you're an entrepreneur and you work for yourself, it's really hard during that phase to stay motivated and get shit done. It was almost as if my brain was in overdrive, yet I was stuck in quicksand. So if you're nodding along and you're thinking, yep, that sounds like me, well, turns out you're not alone. So what is the science behind the link between ADHD and PMDD? Even though research is still emerging on this topic because it is quite new, it's only now that, women are starting to actually voice what they're feeling. And that those feelings are validated. And that's why there's some recent studies that have come out. And one of the things is that both ADHD and PMDD, they're linked to brain chemistry. So if things are out of balance, if your inflammation's high, if you're struggling with hormonal fluctuations, which is what happens during the luteal phase, it just creates the perfect storm. All right, let's talk about managing ADHD and PMDD. And this is my journey. This is what worked for me. And this is something that resonates deeply with me personally, obviously, which is why I've taken this approach. What works for you might be completely different, but the reason I'm sharing this is because I want more women to become aware of the link between ADHD and PMDD, and also for you to understand that if there's a tiny little voice inside of you, that's called your intuition, if that's saying to you, no, I don't want medication, that's okay. That's completely okay, because there are other ways to look at managing symptoms and healing the deficiencies in your body.